Top Texas Republicans resist gun control and push for more armed teachers and police at schools in wake of Uvalde shooting. As President Joe Biden vowed to enact stricter gun laws following the Uvalde shooting, top Texas Republicans worked to create distance between the shooting and potential gun restrictions. This is the news cycle. Gun control. Because of a tragedy, because children lost their lives, and it's awful. It really is. But how much can be said for this? Right now, Twitter is inundated with performative outrage from people who will soon forget about this moment and do nothing. There was a viral tweet where someone said, after all of this, after every shooting we've seen, how can we sit by and allow these weapons? I think it was Josie or someone on Twitter said, how do you still own a gun after Sandy Hook? These people are lying. They are full of it. They are doing nothing to actually address the issue. I'll tell you what's happening. On Monday, news was slow. It really was. I mean, there have been some big stories. We've talked about them. There was the court ruling the other day on insurrection or whatever. And of course, this school shooting is a very big story. Children were killed. 21 people lost their lives. It's horrible. But this was, let me just say, the politicos and the vultures of corporate press probably dropped to their knees and prayed for something like this. I was looking at the various news outlets and doing research, and it was dry this week. I mean, it really was. Viewership was down on some issues. People were kind of just like, there's no real news. It's a slow week. These things happen. And then you get a major tragedy. Now, all of a sudden, every single story is about the shooting. This doesn't happen on other days. I mean, there was with Waukesha, we got to cycle around it. It disappears fairly quickly. Some people would assert some political reasons for that. But of course, Democrats know that this can help pull them out of their funk. So it's horrifyingly convenient for those who need a wedge issue. This is why I say these people are truly detestable. Democrats don't want to solve the problem. They need the problem. They need to rally around something to claim you must vote for them. But when they come out and they say we need gun control now, where were they several years ago? Where are they after every single major shooting? They just say, oh, but the Republicans. Then they come out with their performative outrage saying, do something. But there may be nothing to be done. Now, bravo to top Texas Republicans resisting gun control and pushing for armed teachers and police. But I suppose that it's not going to change anything. There were police there. They just didn't go in. I think the issue is cultural. My understanding is that this dude committed a crime, first attacked his grandmother, took her life. Police found out, pursued him to a school. I could be wrong about this. This is the reporting that I saw. And then he locked himself inside the school, and the police then backed off and created a perimeter, which is insane. I suppose the idea was they didn't think this guy would go nuts and just go off on these kids or whatever, but what do you do? Apparently, this guy, this insane person, legally acquired the weapons. How would background checks have changed anything? Why are we even talking about it? This is another problem I have with modern culture wars. Here we are reacting to the performative outrage from these people on the left who are saying things like, do something, blah, blah, blah. Now, look, I get it. A lot of them are really upset about, these tragedies. I genuinely believe they're upset. My question is, why don't they do any research on firearms? Why don't they do any research on laws? Why do they just blindly come out and say garbage nonsense? Perhaps in this instance, the solution is much simpler. Most people are just not that bright. Now, there may be some thought leaders who have actually done their research into firearms. Perhaps reality has a conservative bias, as it were. How's that one for you, Stephen Colbert? Perhaps it is moderates, libertarians, post-liberals, conservatives, Republicans, whatever, who have done a bit more research to try and understand how to solve these problems. And the threat we face comes from those who lack the cognitive abilities to actually understand what they're talking about. Joe Biden apparently out there hunting deer with handguns. Now, I get it. Some people are like, well, they do that some places. I'm like, what, with a Desert Eagle? I guess, ambush attack. You want to make sure. Come on. Some people mention that Straight wall casings only allowed in some states. Yeah, New Jersey, that's the case, I'm pretty sure. In which case you can get as I mentioned previously, the 450 Bushmaster, which is a straight wall, no neck or whatever they call it. I'm not a gun expert. I just think, I'll tell you what frustrates me is that I want to talk about real issues, not fake performative ones, but this is the news cycle. And so as I'm going through these stories and I pull up a whole bunch, granted it is a slow news week, I'm sitting here thinking like, the most pressing story and the argument is on gun control and gun rights, but we're going to be talking in circles once again. Many of these people on the left are going to say mindless, empty platitudes. Do something. Do what? Do what? Why are you wasting my time? Tell me what you want to do and why it makes sense. They can't. They say, oh, background checks. We already have those. Okay, well, ban assault weapons. What's an assault weapon? You don't know? I didn't think so. Please stop wasting my time. This is why I see the story about Texas, and I'm like, good. Good for them. Don't fall into this. I don't know if armed teachers, makes any sense. I think sometimes tragedies happen. And then you get, for political reasons, people just piling on, screaming, do something. Okay, let's read some of this from Twitter. Because apparently the news cycle we have now, here's The Onion. The satirical media outlet The Onion shares a series of articles titled "No Way to Prevent This," says only nation where this regularly happens. I love how stupid the joke behind that is. I get it. It's funny, whatever. But the premise of the joke is that maybe if we did something different, something that other countries did, we could prevent this. That's such childish garbage. We are a different country with more or less people, typically more people than most of these other nations. Not all of them. I mean, China, fine, weld people into their homes. Is that your solution to the problem? What's the argument from The Onion? They're saying that we should have more gun control or whatever. We have a different culture in this country. And there was one thing I was reading was interesting. People were talking about Michael Moore. Michael Moore said in Bowling from Columbine, apparently, that the U.S. and Canada have comparable gun ownership rates, or that in Canada there's a lot of guns. They have different laws, I think, but people do have guns in Canada, and they said it must be a cultural thing in the United States. I certainly think so. I think it is a cultural issue, and I don't think enacting laws will change that because culture can't be changed by law. Well, here are some of these tweets, and then I want to talk to you about, well, let me just say gun control is losing. So for everybody who's sick and tired of this narrative, who's sick and tired of the do something crowd, okay, something's being done. Gun rights are winning. We got this from the Daily Beast. They're fake news, by the way. I just keep hearing that, Biden has the power. She's a political pawn, so if they're holding her because they want you to do something, they want you to do it. I just want to point out that has nothing to do with gun control. The top post on the do something trend with 500,000 tweets is about Brittany Griner in Russia. But let's read, here we go. Ethan Klein. I can't deal with these shootings anymore. 14 kids dead. This is all of our responsibility at this point. No more inaction. We must do something now. All right. I'm completely open, brother. You tell me what you think we can do and explain why you think we can. Oh, there's nothing else here. Ethan did not elaborate. Well, I don't want to make assumptions. Let's pop over to his Twitter and see if he said anything else beyond do something. Okay, he posted Steve Kerr saying, giving his speech, Steve Kerr on today's treasure shooting, he wants background checks, HR 8. Okay, we have background checks. Apparently this dude passed a background check. All right, so I don't know, Ethan, if you have any other ideas. This dude passed a background check, so I don't know how this would address that issue. Every gun I've bought has been through a background check, so I'm not entirely sure what you're hoping to accomplish. I mean that legitimately. Ethan Klein says, this is the company that sold the shooter an AR-15 a week before the shooting, all online. Absolutely vile. Okay, well, I don't know. Here we go. Why do conservatives think that gun reform means banning all guns? I own a gun. It means implementing common sense reform like tightened background checks and limiting the sale of deadly rifles, high volume ammunition clips, dangerous gun modifications, etc. He says another tweet, guys, do not take the bait on this. Was the shooter an illegal red herring? The problem is gun reform and healthcare, not immigration. Do not engage. Stay focused. I see people talking about illegal immigration and trans stuff, and I'm like, totally not relevant. I agree with Ethan 100%. We should be talking about guns. We should be talking about crime. This is a criminal act. So why do conservatives think that gun reform means banning all guns? Well, I'm not a conservative, though from Ethan's perspective, I must be, though I'm more of a centrist libertarian type, but I can answer that for you, my friend. Conservatives think that gun reform means banning all guns because right now, trending on Twitter, are people saying ban assault weapons, are people like Joe Biden saying ban assault weapons. But the issue is, and I really genuinely hope you hear me on this one, Ethan, assault weapon doesn't mean anything. There is no clear definition at the federal level or state by state as to what an assault weapon really is. If you take a look at a Ruger 1022, this is a 22 long rifle ammunition, very handy, very relatively low power, but very, very dangerous. 22 is very dangerous. It bounces around on a person's insides. So these things can have I think I might have 30 to 60 round magazines for this or something. I maybe not, but I think there are drums for these. I mean, they have small drums for them that come with it stock. Okay. The reason conservatives think that gun reform means banning all guns is because if you put a pistol grip on this, it's all of a sudden an assault rifle. If you put a foregrip or you make it in all black, the same gun becomes banned. Why do we think gun reform means banning all guns? Because there have been people like Beto O'Rourke saying, heck yeah, we're coming for your guns. So while you might not be saying that, that's where we're headed. Let me go through more of your points. Common sense reform like tightening background checks. Okay, good sir. There already is a federal background check from all FFLs. You have to pass one. Are you referring to selling to private friends and family and things like that? Okay, well that I get. But as I mentioned in my previous segment, I suppose the issue is that it already is a crime to sell a weapon to somebody who doesn't fit the criteria. So I suppose if we mandated background checks across the board, created protections that this would not result in any kind of registry or anything like that, you'd still have illegal gun sales, which is the challenge. If someone in Chicago can sell a gun illegally, I don't know what passing this law does. Does it make you feel better, I guess? I mean this sincerely. I don't know if it'll do anything. In fact, there already are background checks, which means someone who's crazy can walk in and just get one. What's the sale of a deadly rifle? All rifles are deadly. What do you mean? High volume ammunition clips. Give me a number. I am saying this genuinely. Give me a number. What's a dangerous gun modification? Guns are dangerous. What is a dangerous gun modification? Do you mean like a bump stock or something? Bump stocks, in my opinion, I think would actually decrease the danger because if someone fires full auto, they run out of ammo very quickly. When they're calculated and doing single shot, that's a bigger risk. So I don't know what you're actually asking for. I mean that literally. Ethan says, we will never move. And look, I'm not meaning to single out Ethan. It was just, this is when you search for do something, he's the one who came up. So I'm going to go through his arguments. He says, we will never move conservatives on the issue. Dead children didn't move them with Sandy Hook and it won't now. It's time to become a single issue voter. Anyone that takes money from the NRA is out. Anyone that doesn't support gun reform is out. Ethan, leftists are pro-gun. Okay? We feel remorse. We feel shame. We feel guilt. We feel anger over children losing their lives. Every single person does. The issue is, I don't know how any kind of reform proposed so far would change anything. In Chicago, people illegally acquire guns. In many instances where there's criminal shootings, the guns were legally purchased. So perhaps this is why many conservatives believe the end result will be outright just banning guns. But I'd like to say this for you, Ethan. Karl Marx, under no pretext should arms and ammunition be surrendered. Any attempt to disarm the workers must be frustrated by force if necessary. This is why I don't believe you are genuine. And again, I'm not trying to single out Ethan. I didn't plan on talking about him. But when you pull up the do something trend, he is the top post on this issue. And he's making typical liberal points. Karl Marx, I agree with him. In fact, I dare say, I actually agree with Marx on more than that. And I've talked about this on numerous occasions. Karl Marx believes that in critical theory, we have the oppressed versus the oppressor, the bourgeoisie and the proletariat. I do not completely disagree. I believe class issues are real. I have typically been on the left economically. Now, I think Marx has a lot of really bad ideas. I think that he's generally not a good person. But I do believe that there is, to a certain degree, class-based issues in this country where In the United States, perhaps why Marx doesn't pan out really well is because we're a meritocratic system, much different from what Europe was at the time when he was thinking these things. So for us in the United States, his ideas don't quite make sense. And ultimately, his ideas lead to death, destruction, famine, and hardship, which is ultimately why we're like, okay, maybe we don't want to go full Marx. But I personally believe we have class-based issues. They're not solved by the things that Karl Marx proposed, but I can certainly recognize there's an issue. The U.S. was a meritocratic system, and it still is to a certain degree. But it's increasingly becoming a caste system, where people who are very wealthy just have kids who stay wealthy. You're born rich, stay rich. And then these people grow up and they don't want anyone interfering. You end up with legacy families. It is a problem. Power, it's people just keep, they don't want to lose it. They don't want to give it up. They give it to their kids give it to their kids, and then eventually you have a caste system because people without power struggle to develop it, and power attracts power. But I agree with Karl Marx on 100% of the gun thing. Don't give up your guns. Ethan, I'd like you to take a look at this. Constitutional carry in the United States. 25 states have constitutional carry, and 11 states have permitless open carry. Permitless open carry means if you legally have the weapon, you can walk around with it displayed. That's Virginia. That's West Virginia. That's Texas. I mean, I'm talking about all of these states. You have 36 states where you can get a gun, walk around with it without a permit. I just want to mention to everyone, gun control is losing. Period. That's it. It's really this map right here is one of the most amazing. From 1986, you had no issue for permits. And watch as time goes on, more and more states become shall issue. Why? Because we have a Second Amendment. Eventually, you see the emergence of unrestricted. What is that? Is that Vermont or is that, yeah, it looks like Vermont. Unrestricted. This is constitutional carry, mind you. By 2004, almost every state was shall issue, except for California. But now I'm pretty sure even California, as of today, let's see how it changes. Now all of these states are becoming, look at that. Illinois briefly was no issue and then changed back. Everything's becoming constitutional carry. And by 2022, we have 25 states that are constitutional carry. So California never did actually go to shall issue, just remained may issue. So I just want to say that too. For all of the pandering, all of the manipulation, all of the arguments that don't actually address the issues, you are losing. So I will say this to Ethan. His tweets addressing the issue are actually some of the most respectable I have seen when it comes to saying do something. Some people are just saying, look at this guy, David Weissman, get your effing head out of your A or whatever. Okay, dude. So actually, I'm pretty happy to see that Ethan Klein's tweets are on top. He's just saying, we're not going to move conservatives. Here's what we need. Okay. Hey, I respect that. I really do. He's just saying his thoughts and his opinions. He thinks he's at odds with conservatives, and I can appreciate that. And seriously, that's good. I just think his arguments aren't reaching anyone. I'm not a conservative on guns. I'm a libertarian on guns. I am not a conservative on cultural or economic issues. I am a centrist, slightly leaning to the left. I am not in the left sphere of influence tribe, mind you, because I'm center libertarian. Not a big fan of the Libertarian Party, except for some of the Mises Caucus guys. But Ethan, when you come and you make respectable points that aren't just spitting on people or cussing, I appreciate it. But let me just address this. I ask you, what is a common sense gun reform? Tightening background checks. What do you mean by tightening them? We'll have an actual conversation. Limiting the sale of deadly rifles. Which ones? AR-15 basically just means gun at this point. It means rifle. So I've got an AR-15 styled 9mm pistol. Okay, it's a pistol, but it's like an AR-15, it's like same mechanics. I've got as I mentioned before, a 450 Bushmaster. I'm not going to name every single weapon I have, but it's an AR-15 chambered in 450. Interestingly, I think the 5.56 magazines are the same size as the 450 ones. Hold a lot less though. So what's a deadly rifle? I also have a KSG-25 dual mag tube shotgun pump action. This can hold 25 shotgun shells. This is not semi-auto. It's pump action. But if you've ever seen someone just we go to the range, I got to tell you, I've got a lever action 357 Magnum. It's my favorite. That's like, you know, when I'm using that, it's just standard, you know, iron sights or, you know, whatever. Again, not a gun expert. I'm not going to pretend to be. But I never miss. I have a great time at the range with that fella. I also have a 410 break action shotgun with 410 slugs. Also never miss. Those are fun. Really easy to use. Anyway, I digress. If you've ever seen someone unload a KSG 25 with buckshot and slugs in it, you're going to be like, that is a scary weapon. So I've gone to the range. I've actually myself gotten to use a suppressed 5.56, fully decked out by this dude who's a pro. Actually, yeah, I'll just leave it at that because I don't want to drag anybody into this. And it's amazing. It really is, you know, the accuracy. And then I've taken a KSG 25. It's a shotgun pump action. It's got a pistol grip and it can hold 25 shells. It's got a switch in the back. So you've got one in the chamber, you fire, you pump, you do 12, you switch, you do the other 12. Watching that thing unload a mixture of slugs in one tube and buckshot in the other. And that is something else. Watching your AR-15 5.56 versus that thing, the shotgun's scarier. But often we hear from these people that shotguns are the ones you should be using. All right, man. High volume ammunition clips. Let me just give you a correction, my friend. We don't use clips anymore. Unless you're using an old school like M1A or whatever, we use magazines. I know everybody mixes them up. I've mixed it up in the past, so that's just a, you know, passive correction, not meant to be a dig or anything. What is a high volume magazine? Standard, and this is literally true. This is not an argument, literally true. Standard capacity is 30 rounds. When you buy a weapon, the standard capacity is 30 rounds. High capacity is what, 60 or 100 mag drum, or what do you mean? What we hear often from Democrats is 10. 10 is low capacity. It is. 30 is standard. So what's high volume? Dangerous gun modifications. I don't know what you mean, dude. I would love to hear what you mean on these issues. So let's hear those arguments. For the time being, nothing will happen. Schumer tells colleagues not to expect a gun control vote anytime soon. I say good. I say good to Karl Marx's quote. I say good to constitutional carry. Good. That's it. Good. For those who are saying do something, I ask you simply this. Do what? I genuinely mean it. I can make every argument in the books, and I can tell you exactly why you're not moving conservatives, because you're not actually arguing the points. When you say background checks, I say where and why. If you can't give me an answer, then you're not arguing anything. I can tell you this. I don't know how any of these policies actually would end up stopping this violence if someone can still legally buy a weapon. That's it. And as long as we have a Second Amendment, they can. All guns are dangerous. They're supposed to be. You don't like shootings? Neither do I. Your proposals are emotional and are not going to solve the problem. Anyway, look, I'll go back to the beginning. I just feel like this is a dominant news cycle. One, it is a shocking story for sure. It's also a political wedge issue, and it was a slow news week, so expect this to get piled on. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 4 p.m. over at youtube.com/Timcast. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.